God, I got so wet this morning, it's not even funny. I only had this one day today to go climb my mountain and go check a dozen trail cameras. And of course, this kick-ass freaking storm rolled in yesterday. But I had to go do it. And the results were kind of shitty, but oh well. Anyway, last night I was going through a bunch of photographs with a friend of mine, and I came across a picture of a hunt I did a handful of years ago, and I completely forgot about it. And it's a pretty good frickin' story. It was a stone sheep hunt. So here it is. So this is around, I don't know, 7 or 8 or 9 years ago, who knows, something like that. And it was the last hunt of the season for guide season. So it was October 1st to 15th. And typically that's the last 2 weeks of the stone sheep season in northeastern BC. And I'm typically on the north side Alaska Highway in a camp with my guide partner Mark for the whole season. Well, for the last half of the season to the end. And but I forget why I was asked to go guide a hunt with another guide on the west side Alaska Highway, which is in the higher slopes, the bigger mountains, the bigger Rocky Mountains, and because we're more on we're on the eastern slope of the Rockies on the north side of the Alaska Highway, where they're not so high and gnarly and frickin' freezing cold as it gets up in that higher altitude at the tail end of the season, the October hunt. It's typically can be some pretty gnarly frickin' weather. And so there's one other guide in camp up there, and his girlfriend was a cook, and there's actually another girl who was in camp, and she was attempting to be the wrangler for the season. And that's nothing to do with being a girl. I'm just saying she was brand new, and she was having a tough go. And there was 2 Mexican hunters, 2 friends coming from, actually they're from Mexico City, I believe. Great guys, fun hunt. But anyway, so getting back to how it went down. So Mark and I typically have stupid little side bets all through the seasons. We'll bet on all sorts of silly shit, whether or not you can hit that shooting your rifle from here to there, or who gets the biggest moose of the year, who will get the biggest elk of the elk hunt that we used to have on that side of the highway, September 1st or 10th. We just bet $100. It's always $100 US, okay, you're on. And we get fairly competitive, fun competitive with each other. So I'm leaving camp, and he had a sheep hunt, was his last hunt, and I had a sheep hunt, my last hunt. I knew where I was going, and it's the end of the season, and that's typically the best time to get a hammer ram on average. So I go, well, you want to go $100 for biggest ram for last hunt? He's like, hell yeah. So the bet's on, right? So off I go. I went up what is known as the Racing River to go meet up with the other guide. And what we're gonna, oh my God, that was hell. Now that I'm remembering this hunt, that was one of the most absolutely hell shit eating frickin' moments that night. Because typically, if I'm gonna ride it the highway, or any of us are gonna ride it the highway or go on a major tour with all the horses, pack up all your shit, you're going to start early, you're gonna get up early, you're gonna get those horses in at first light, you're gonna get everybody packed up, and you're gonna go. So this one particular guide, he's a good guy. He was a wrangler with us for a long time, became a guide. And not everybody's got the same work ethic or the same energy or enthusiasm level as each other, right? I'm usually the go, 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 let's do this, not waste a second kind of guy, and other people are kind of like, whatever, we'll get there when we get there, or whatever, just not quite as enthusiastic. So we get in there, we get up in the morning, and nobody seems to be moving too quick. I'm kind of like, okay, I don't even know where we're going. Like, he knew the shortcut trail to get to where we're going, which this particular drain I have hunted before, but so I'm up in the morning, we're all up in the morning, and this particular guide and the wrangler didn't seem to be too energetic. They're in the little cabin there, smoking these cigarettes, smoking these cigars and having a coffee. And nothing's packed up yet. The pack boxes aren't out in line. The horses aren't saddled up. The sun's been up for a while, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I guess it's not too much of a jaunt to get to where we're going, whatever. I didn't even dream, I wouldn't even have guessed for a second that we were in for what we were in for, by the energy and enthusiasm of these two, because if I had known what it was going to be like, I would have left camp ages ago. It's the end of the season. It gets a lot darker up north faster than it does down south here. Your days are way shorter. There's a storm coming. It was frickin' freezing cold. I think at that particular time, that particular day, it was really starting to drop in temperature, which up in the mountains up there, it can drop extremely fast, like creepy fast. And then, so anyways, we finally got all the horses packed up and off we go. And we're riding down the river, and I'm not leading. I don't know where we're going. I'm following. And then the guide hangs to the left, and he's pausing a lot. He's kind of looking around. I can see him way up ahead because we got lots of horses in between each one of us, and everybody's tail tied because we're not, it's the end of the season. If you don't tail tie them now, they're going to bolt for the highway. Because meanwhile, we're going towards the highway. All the horses are probably thinking, right on, season's over, we're out of here. But meanwhile, we're going to hang left and carry on up into this high, gnarly drain where it's hell and there's hardly any feed left. So we have them all head and tail tied. Next thing you know, we're climbing up through the timber, finally getting up into the spruce patch, this big one. We're going to go over top of this big spruced over hogback thing, and it's getting dark. And it's a blizzard. It's a frickin' blizzard. Everybody's soaking wet. We've been off your horse, hiking, untangling a few horses, repacking a couple of pack saddles. It wasn't the best moment in the planet, but whatever, you just get it done, keep going. We're going up this steep trail, goat trail, up the hip, up the side of this creek, and now it's almost pitch black. I haven't a clue how much farther we got to go. It's barfing, puking snow. The horses are all sweated up, everybody's wet, everybody's miserable, everybody's freezing cold and tired. And I'm standing there, not moving on a slope like this, not knowing what's going on up there. Meanwhile, he's hiking ahead on foot, trying to find the trail. And I'm like, oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? You don't know where the trail is? And now I'm starting to figure it out that we left way too late, so I'm kind of pissed off because I can't stand stupid when it comes to guide world in the north. I have a low tolerance for stupid. I couldn't even see my horses. So I've decided, well, while we're standing here, I better go down and check on my horses. And I got two horses behind me, and sure enough, this great big huge monster pack horse, his whole load had slipped and was underneath his belly. Pack saddle, both boxes had rolled and they're under his belly. And he's just standing there. I didn't even know. I got the wrangler back there, we repacked him, got him all snugged up, checked everybody else, and off we go. And we're going up through the timber, and I'm following this guy, and there's snow is just barfing. All the branches are loaded up with snow. It's falling down on you. It's going in your collar. You're absolutely soaked. You're miserable. And all of a sudden, we're trying to turn around this whole pack string in thick spruce. The trees are that thick. The holes are that big to get through. It was just frickin' hell. You're smashing the horses in the pack boxes through everything, mowing all the crap over. And here comes the guy to headlamp towards me, passing me with all the pack string again as he's doing figure eights through this effing timber patch for hours. I was beside myself. I was so pissed off. Anyway, we finally made it across this big hogback and down and dropped into the next river drainage we were trying to get to and rode up to camp. And by the time we got to camp, I believe it was 3:30 in the morning. 3 in the morning or 3:30. We got one tent set up and basically threw our bedrolls in there, hobbled everybody up, kicked them loose, threw all the shit on the ground and went to sleep. It sucked ass. And I just remembered that part of this story. And I'll tell you what, sometimes when you're up in the north, when you're in the remote middle of nowhere, when shit gets tough, there's just no escaping. There's no escaping it. You can't tap out. There's nothing you can do about it. You have to deal with it. You have to smash forward and you have to deal with it. You gotta keep going. You cannot quit. And it just sucks ass. It can, especially if somebody makes the wrong decision and they're in the lead. They can really cause a lot of grief, if not potentially some danger. So anyway, we get in there, and they had to ride out. You can't fly into this place. You got to ride in on horseback. So the plan was we were going to ride up, set up camp, and then the guide and the wrangler were going to ride out to the highway, which was about 8 hours one way, 7 to 9 hours one way to get to the highway. And then they were going to spend a night at the highway camp at the main ranch, pick up the cook, the two Mexican hunters, and ride all the way back in. So off they went. I stayed there by myself. I got all the other wall tents set up. We had 1, 2, 3 wall tents set up, and I got a bunch of firewood cut. And I made a great big huge bucket of chili, so it was all ready to go by the time hopefully they were going to come in. A lot of times you don't have any communication with the outside world, and when people leave on horseback or a float plane or bush plane, tundra wheels in the planes, airstrips, remote airstrips, sometimes things happen that you don't know about and they don't make it back in. And you don't know when they're going to make it back in, and all you can do is sit there and camp out and wait. So thankfully they all came in on time. And I had a big pot of chili all ready to go. The wood stoves were loaded and lit up, and it was a nice, pleasant, warm camp for them to come back to. And they were all pretty cold. You know, these guys came from Mexico, and now they're riding on horseback in a freaking blizzard. And at that time, it was probably about minus 10-ish. About minus 10, yeah, minus 10, minus 15-ish at that time of the hunt. And they were a couple good guys. They were probably, I think they were in their late 40s. Maybe 50 years old, the pair of them. And they both had a stone sheep tag and a mountain goat tag, with stone sheep being their priority. So, for myself, you know, when you know where you're hunting, when you've been at it long enough, you know what you're going to do. You have enough experience that you can look your hunter confidently in the eye and tell them flat out, you know, this is going to be a great hunt. You are going to get what you're looking for. It's just a matter of what you're after, you know, like, well, so what I typically say to my hunters, I go, hey, so what do you got for tags, you know, or what are you looking for? And then I'll say, okay, well, what kind of ram do you want? I mean, what kind of ram are you hoping to find? What would you like to cut your tag on? What are you after? You know, do you want a big one? And not too many people say no, and they go, oh, yes. He was a Mexican guy. I can't mimic the Mexican accent perfectly, but I can try. And he's like, oh, yes, I would like a big ram. And I go, okay, do you want a monster ram? Because keep in mind, I want to win this bet. and I know Mark's got a good chance of getting a smoking cranker ram back at our other camp, and I want to win this bet. I want to get a frickin' monster ram. And there are some very large stone rams in this drain, and it's the last hunt of the year, and that's when you typically find these frickin' crankers. And that's what I want to do. So I'm relaying my confidence to my hunter. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? You want to get a big one? And he's like, oh, yes, I would really much like a big ram. I'm like, okay, well, do you want to get a frickin' monster? Because I want to get a monster. He's like, oh, well, I would hope to get a monster. Yes, that would be great. Do you think we'd get a monster? You know, and I'm like, well, if you follow my lead, we may have to pass on a few big ones to ensure that we get a cranker monster. But if we try hard, we'll probably do it. And what I typically do is I'll tell my hunters is what I like to do for a hunt, no matter if it's a 10-day hunt or a 2-week hunt. I like to take the first half of my hunt to do a full inventory of all the spots to find what I can, and then choose the best one out of everything I found, unless I find the no-brainer specimen along that first half. And then the second half of the hunt, that's when I'm really going to concentrate on getting this hunt done, the tag cut, the hunt successful, and I'm going to select the best animal that I've found. And I'll be able to gauge. You can gauge whether or not you should drop the hammer early or mid, depending on the quality animals you're seeing, the sign, how many you're seeing. You can gauge it. You can make the right call at the right time to cut that tag on a particular animal. But I am 100%, I am tunnel visioning. I'm going to get this guy a cranker ram, and I'm going to win the bet. So off we go. The other guide and the other hunter went off in another drain. They didn't do so well with sheep, but they found some goats. And I think they may have shot a goat early, and they shot it right from the horse too, which is crazy. So, you know, here's the funny part. So in guide world, you get all sorts of different levels of, you know, in guide world, you get so many different people, so many different personalities, and so many different characteristics and different traits on each person. It's very interesting. And sometimes you get people, they're 100% confident, they have confidence in you, they follow your lead, no problem at all. And they understand the task at hand, they understand that you're experienced and you know where all the trails are, and you're a professional guide, and you're going to work together and you're hunt hard and you're going to make this happen together. But the odd time you'll get somebody whose patience is non-existent, their anxiety is existent, and their confidence is very, very challenged. They have a tough time pulling that confident gene out of their system and going with it. And it can be quite frustrating, because as a guide, if you are, what are you? I've heard people say as a guide, you're a cook, you're a guide, you're an entertainer, you're a guardian, and you're a motivational speaker. You know, and I do have a pile of motivational words for my hunters when the going gets tough and they start to lose their enthusiasm, their confidence. And you have to, a lot of the times, you got to pump these guys up. You got to pump them up and keep them going and drive them and give them enthusiasm to climb that extra mountain, or climb up there, climb over there, ride there for 2 days straight, to camp out, to check over there. And, you know, a lot of these people are coming from city life. You know, they're coming from hot showers, clean clothes, taking a subway or driving the car to work every day. This is so freaking abnormal for them and overwhelming at times. It's a little bit much, right? So it can be very challenging. And I'm not used to having to use my motivational speeches in the first day of the 2-week hunt, ever, you know? Usually it's like, you know, halfway through the hunt, get a tail end when these guys are exhausted, they're cold, they're tired, they haven't had a shower, they're sore, they haven't had proper sleep, I'm dragging around like Samsonite luggage, and then they might start getting a little less enthusiastic, starting to question whether or not they're going to have success, and that's when I start using up my vault of motivational words. Well, this poor guy, and keep in mind, these 2 guys from Mexico, they're great. They're great guys, had a great time with them. But unfortunately, my hunter, he was absolutely lacking in the confidence department. Flatlined in the confidence department. I was like, oh my God. So we're riding up this one drain, and you're basically right up there in the sheep mountains. You're right up in these massive cranks, these massive peaks. There's basins in each one. You ride up the valley, and the willow have all turned yellow. Most of the willow leaves are yellow. A lot of them are getting blown off and already on the ground, but there is some big, brilliant yellow patches of willow, you know, stunted willow, because you're getting right up a tree line, so the willow's, you know, potentially this deep, and little yellow leaves, but it's very stunning. It's stunning. You got snow-capped peaks, you know, willow, everything's turning yellow. It's quite the sight. So we're riding up this valley, and you can basically get off your horse and stand there and glass around and see some rams possibly, or see some caribou and see some mountain goats. And we're riding up the valley, and we only got halfway up the valley, and we tied up. And okay, we'll sit here and we'll have a little fire, because it was frickin' freezing cold, and it wasn't snowing. Right away, my hunter starts going like this. Oh no, I see nothing. We don't see anything. Oh no, I'm not going to get my ram. I don't think I'm going to get my ram. I have to get my ram, Steve. Steve, I have to get my ram. I don't think I'm going to get my ram. I'm like, okay, am I really hearing this? It's in the first quarter of the first day, and this guy's losing his shit, convincing himself it's not going to happen. I'm like, dude, no, trust me, you're going to get a ram. You're fine. You're going to get a ram. We're not even started hunting yet. You know, this costs so much money. It costs me so much money. I spend a lot of money on this hunt, and I don't see anything. When I see anything, I don't think I'm going to get my ram. Oh my God. Amazing. So we carry on. I'm kind of giggling to myself a little bit, and I'm not going to question for 1 second the outcome of this hunt. I know he's going to get a ram. There's no way he's not going to get a ram. And, and so we're riding along. We got quite a ways up the valley. We rode up about 3 hours or so in distance, stopping and glassing along the way. But this particular valley, you don't really have to glass that hard. There's not many big boulders. It's lots of green slopes going up into craggly peaks, but you can see most everything. You know, if there's a ram there, a handful of sheep, you're going to see them. So ride along, and across there's one little drain coming down that splits. So you're going the side wall of the mountain. We're at the very bottom. Then we cross over the creek to this side of the valley. So we're glassing up to that side, riding along, and then a little mini valley cuts into the right. And then the rock wall of big peaks continues on up the valley. So when you were crossing over that drain, that spill out in front of us, it's big frickin' boulders, like the size of Volkswagen Bugs. You know, there's a big boulder field with this tiny little horse trail cutting through it. And it's sloped downhill this way. So we're riding through it, get to the other side, ride up the valley about another, we ride up another half mile. And I look to my right, and I get off my horse, boom, there's 2 rams. And they are basically in the top of the gravel slide, right at the top where the gravel hits the sheer rock face, and there's just one nice big ram laying there looking at us. And he's about, he might have been 1,000 yards away or something. So I got my spotter set up on tied the horse, I'm looking at him, and it's a nice ram. I forget, I'll have to check the rings in the photograph in a minute when I get back, but it's like a 10-year-old ram, I think, 10 or 11-year-old ram. Broomed off, nice and heavy. But he's not a cranker. You know, he's not a frickin' 40-inch cranker, hammer, book ram. And that's what I want to find. And there's another 8-year-old ram with him, just a ram. You know, just a, what was he, probably 35-inch by 12-inch tipped full curl 8-year-old ram. Nothing special, nothing spectacular at all. And there's just 2 of them. So we're watching, and my hunter's like, is it a legal ram? I'm like, yeah, they're actually both legal. Should we shoot him? I'm like, no. I'm like, no. We're gonna leave him on ice. This is our first day. We're taking note of what we got. He's a nice ram. He's a big ram. Remember in the beginning? You want a big ram or do you want a monster? He says, yes, but go no buts. I go, that's a big ram. He's just not a monster. We're the only people here. And it's late, and the sheep are going to keep piling in here, and they're going to start filling up, and they're going to be coming through. I go, this is day 1. We don't shoot that on day 1. But we have him. That's our wild card. We got him in our pocket. I can find that ram again, okay? So I'm passing all this confidence to him. I looked around. I didn't see any other animals, no other sheep, just those 2 rams. So I turned around, slipped out, and here's where it gets real shitty. So we're walking downhill, and I walk into that gravel pile, and we're almost into the boulder pile. I go, okay, let's saddle up and jump on our horses and carry on. So I get on my horse, and he goes trotting ahead about 5 yards or something to stop him. And I look back, and the hunter's getting on his horse because he was being a little clumsy in a way. I don't know what it was. Like maybe it was too cold. I don't know. Because he obviously got on and off his horse probably 10 times that day, no problem at all. Everything's cool. He's doing good. He's confident. It's a good, solid saddle horse underneath him. No problems with the horses. And he's in the bottom. He's in the rock pile, and he's like, jumps up on the horse. But what does he do? I forget how he even did it, but he jumps up on the horse, went to sling over, and he slung over, but as he slung over, he went flying off the horse onto the other side and disappeared in the boulders. I'm like, what? Holy shit. And his horse spooked after he went launching off the other side of the horse, and then his horse comes trotting down to me, stops behind my horse, so I grab the horse to tie him up, and I'm like, I forget the guy's name. Sorry, even if you are my hunter from back then, you're watching this video, I completely apologize for your name. Forget his name, and I'm calling out his name, and there's nothing. He's not getting up. He disappeared in those boulders from the high side of the horse down to the low side. So we're talking he dropped free fall off that horse and disappeared into those boulders head first, at least 6, 7, or 8 feet. And I'm like, oh my God, this isn't good. I get up there, and there he is. He's kind of sitting, sprawled out, completely dazed, and there is blood everywhere, barfing out of his frickin' head. I'm like, oh shit. And so I always got some clean towels in my backpack for when we get the kill. I got to wash off everything. So I had a nice clean towel, and I tore it up into chunks, and I'm spreading his hair apart, and I don't know. I've never seen skull through human scalp before in my life, but I think I kind of thought I saw a skull there. But he had this gash on him about like that, and it split right open, wide open, and it was bleeding pretty good. And I'm like, oh shit, damn it. So, and he's fine. He was talking to me. He's like, am I okay? Am I okay? And I'm like, dude, it's just a little cut. Head cuts always bleed. You're all right. You're fine. I'll tear off a piece of this cloth, stick it on there, and then we'll put your toque on real tight, put your hat on it, and you're going to be fine. We'll get you back to camp, and we'll get it cleaned up. I'm like, oh my God, you got to be freaking kidding me, right? This is day 1. Could have been day 2. This might have been day 2. Anyway, so we ride back to camp, get into camp, and now we've got 2 girls in camp. You know how girls are competitive with each other, can be, and kind of get at each other a little bit. And we get into camp, and we're tying up, and he goes off in his wall tent to go get out of his soaking wet shit. And I went to the cook shack, and I got these girls there, and I go, okay, listen, this is what we're going to do. I go, the hunter took a header off the horse. He split his frickin' head wide open. But this hunt's not over. We're not going in. He's not dizzy. He's not stumbling around. He's not asking to go back. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to clean the wound. We're going to shave the hair off around the wound. We're going to wash it out. And we're going to butterfly it together. And that's what we're going to do. And this hunt's going to keep going. Got it? And they're both looking at me like, well, we have to take a look at it. Take a look at it. And I'm like, no. I already took a look at it. If we ride this $50,000 hunt out to the highway and drive this guy all the frickin' way into Fort Nelson, all they are going to do is they're going to clean it out, stitch it up, and send him on his way. And he can do that after the hunt's done. Got it? So when you see this wound, I don't want you getting all emotional and freaking out. Don't do it. Got it? So I drag him into the cook shack, take off his toque, rip off the piece of towel, and both the girls start going, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God," like this. And I'm like, "Oh my God, are you freaking, would you shut up?" And then the hunter's looking at me and he's like, Steve, what do you think? What do you think? You know, and I'm like, "You're fine." He's fine. We're going to clean it out and shave it. So, and we actually had a digital camera. I took a picture of him. I showed him the picture. He's like, "Well, what do you think? We keep," I go, "It's up to you. You can keep, I know you can keep hunting. Let's do this hunt. You can do this. We got this. Let's clean this frickin' wound out, tape it together, and we carry on." That's what we're doing. And now I got these two girls going at each other, trying to outclass each other in their first aid knowledge. And what course did you take? What course did you take? Well, I did this course. Well, I did that course. And they're nit-natting away over in the corner. And then they both look at me, "Well, you're going to have to stay up all night with him and keep him awake." And I'm like, "You guys are going to have to shut up and go to bed in a minute. That's what you're going to have to do." You know? So we shaved his head off. You can see in the photograph here. We shaved the hair off, taped it together. Game on. It's frickin' game on. So the next day I'm thinking, all right, I got a hunter with basically who almost got scalped. I'm pretty sure I saw his skull in that gut. I'm thinking maybe I better go kill that frickin' ram we found the other day, right? I never ever get my hunter jacked up as a rule. You know, I know what's going on in my head. I'm making a plan, I'm making a decision, and I rarely tell them that we're gonna go drop the hammer on something until we kind of get up there and look at it together. And then, because I just want to, I've learned over the past, you don't get these guys cranked up way ahead of time. You want to keep them mellow and calm. So we're riding up, right along, and I am looking everywhere for this ram. Everywhere, and I'm not seeing nothing. We're riding up, we get through the boulder pile again, get up to the top of the valley where I can basically see the whole dead end, and up to the top of the drain where he was, and he's not there. There's nothing there. I'm like, shit. I didn't see any sheep on the way up. And of course, he's spracking off again, going, "Oh, I'm not going to get the ram. I know I'm not going to get a ram. I see nothing." He did this to me every day, all day, every single day. "Steve, I have to get a ram. I spend so much money. Oh, I don't think I'm going to get my ram." He did that to me every single day, all day. I was out. I used all my motivational speeches, done. I was empty. First 3 days of the hunt, all my Tony Robbins motivational speeches are done. The vault's empty. I got nothing. Just now I'm repeating, but he's repeating too. So as we're standing there, and I got some pretty powerful binoculars. I got 10 by 52 Swarovskis, and we're standing there, and I start glancing back down valley, but on the same side. So I'm facing the side of the valley. That's where the ram was. You go down, there's a big valley cut, and then it continues on. The side of the wall of the valley continues on. And on this one particular side of the hill is one big patch of yellow willow leaf. It's brilliant looking, you know, with the snow-capped peaks. And I'm looking down valley about, I'll bet you I was looking down probably 1,500, 2,000 yards down. And it's windy. You can see the thermals are ripping up and all those willows are just blowing, pushed over. And I'm glancing all the way down, and just for probably a split, half a second, not even half a second. I mean, I glanced, whoa, like that. I'm glancing, oh, shit. I know I saw that white pie plate. And when I say white pie plate, I'm meaning the white rump of a ram, because it's a white pie plate with a black teardrop, their tail. That's what I always call it. Watch for the white pie plate. And you got to think, that thing's only this big, right? And I could have swore I saw a white pie plate in the middle of those yellow leaves. I could have swore I did. And I couldn't see it again. And I'm looking, I'm glassing. I tied up the horses, I pulled up my spot and scope, and I'm scouring the shit out of that willow patch. And that pie plate was probably 3/4 up the willow patch, and he was probably about 100 yards shy of breaking up into the cliffs. And the side of that willow patch abruptly ended straight down because there's a rock drain farther down valley, just on the far right side. I'm looking up the hill. There's a rock drain on the right side of that willow. And then it continues on open ground, rock, where a sheep would stand out like a sore thumb. So I'm looking. I'm not seeing nothing. Nothing's coming out of the willow. Nothing's coming out up into the cliffs above the willow. Nothing at all. And I'm like, for me, if I think I seen something, usually it's right. Usually I seen it when you get that strong feeling. If I think I've seen something, I see it. And I've learned this a long time ago to go with it. So I told him, I said, look, you know what? I think that ram might be down there in that willow. He's like, what? How do you see that? How do you see that? You know, that's another note too. You know, there's a lot of guys out there that play the ego monster, and they like to try to get across as there's some kind of a superhero or a guide god or something or whatever have you. But the truth of the matter is, the more you're out there, the longer you do it, the more those 1 in a million chances, those 1 in a million experiences come up. You know, it's just everything lines up the right way, which will make it look like you made it happen. But you're just the right place, the right time. You made the right decision, and you saw the right animal, and it's exactly what's happening. But this particular moment gets a little crazy, and I'm sure my hunter's still talking about it and still wondering how the hell it happened. But I'll carry on with the story. Now I've got my eyes locked. I've got my eyes locked on the willow patch, locked on the rocks above it, locked on the dirt and the drain to the right. I do not want to miss anything coming out of that willow patch and carrying on. So we're riding down the valley, and I'm watching up ahead, riding down the valley, and I am staring at that willow patch. I know I saw that white pie plate. I know I did. Because I closed my eyes, I'm looking, I can see it clean. I know I saw that frickin' white pie plate. And there's a sheep in there. Who knows which one it is, if it's a ewe or a ram, but I know there's a sheep in that frickin' patch of shit there. So we ride all the way along. I made him get off of his horse and walk through the border pile when we're crossing that valley spill out. Get to the other side, get on the horses, carry on. And then we rode up into this one last patch of spruce, which was directly straight below that willow patch. I sat on the other side of the valley first and glassed up there for half an hour. And the wind's just cranking up there. The wind is like, the thermals are going straight up. It's fucking cold out. By now it's about 12:30, 1 o'clock. It's probably 1. Yeah, it's about 1:30 in the afternoon now. It's on the other side of noon. It's getting colder. It's just drizzling snow a little bit. And I just keep on gazing up there. So now I'm going up that little drain, and I'm looking uphill, and I can see the leaves of the willow patch are completely flattened over from that wind ripping up. The wind's going at an angle. We're going straight up. But then at the very top of the willow patch, where it transitioned to rock cliffs, I could see another patch of willow a little farther in, and the leaves weren't moving at all. Just this one little shelf, about the size of the pickup truck. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, he's laying where there's no wind. That's why he didn't come out, and that's why I didn't see him come up above. There's a hidden shelf there I didn't see. That sucker's laying right there. There's no way that thing's not laying there. And I'm talking to myself. I'm saying this in my head. And then I'm looking at it, and it was about 300 yards from us. So the laser's 300, around 300. Hunter's like, he hasn't seen a thing. Remember, this guy hasn't seen anything. He's been looking at the same blank face of the mountain for a few hours now, and there's nothing there. He's probably thinking I'm insane, and I'm stalking it like we're stalking an animal. And I go, okay. And I lasered up to that thing, 3 and change. I lasered up to the next spot up the drain with a good boulder and a good bench where we could sit and get a good, better view at that, where that potential little shelf is and where the ram might come up from it. I go, okay, let's sneak up there quick. Let's sneak up to that next rock, which was another 100 and change up. So I go, let's go now, quick. Let's just keep going quick. Because I don't want to get busted. You don't want to get busted by a big ram a couple 100 yards away on the same slope as you're transitioning with your gun on your back and not ready. You don't want to get busted. So it's almost a bit of a gamble when you decide to move, right? So we start climbing up that drain, get to the next perch, sit back. I got my spotter set up, ready to go to age this thing. If it's a ram, if it's a sheep I saw, if it's a ram, and if it comes out. I'm sitting there waiting. We are about 200 from where this shelf is. Now I can see more of the willow that's behind the shelf above it, and I can see there isn't a leaf moving on that thing. But meanwhile, out here on the slope, every willow bush is almost flattened from the wind screaming up there. Like the wind is screaming. We are freaking frozen too. We sit there for another 15, 20 minutes. Nothing's happening. Now I'm looking back. Remember, that ram was on an angle of 45 up through that golden willow. When I saw that white pie plate, it was facing that way, away from me. That means if that ram is continuing to come out, he's going to come out right in front of us in that drain. There's no way he's not coming in front of us in that drain. And I'm looking, and it's sheer rock cliff above the little perch where I think he's laying, or the sheep's laying. So I keep telling my hunter, I go, get a good rest, aim at the top of this drain. Aim right there. Aim right there in the drain. Aim right there and get ready to shoot. And if a ram comes out, do not pull the trigger until I say shoot it. So he's laying there aiming, freezing. And keep in mind, he hasn't seen an animal. He hasn't seen nothing. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and waiting, and waiting, and waiting, and it's getting later in the day. Now it's already past beyond time to ride back in daylight. We're going to be riding back in the pitch black already. But I'm committed. There's no way that, you go with your tummy too. I always go with my guts for every decision in life. And my guts are burning that ram's up in that little bench. And we haven't seen this ram for a couple days, right? We haven't seen anything. So I spied this. I wanted to go just one more. I wanted to get up there another little distance, like 75 more yards. I wanted to go up a little higher and get on another angle where maybe I can potentially see this guy's horn as he's laying there, if there's a sheep there. I go, let's get up to that rock, go up to that rock. So we get up to that rock, take a chance at moving again and getting set up again. And I go, okay, now lays it. If that sheep comes out, it's going to be like a 100-yard shot, if there's one there. So we're sitting there waiting. It's getting later. It's like 2:30ish now, or 3. No, I think it's around 3 o'clock, maybe even later than 3 o'clock. It's late. And all of a sudden, this frickin' double broom fat old ram comes walking out and stands broadside right in the drain 100 yards in front of us. It's moments like that when everything happens right, where your hunter can potentially think that you are some kind of a hunting god. When those 1 in a million things happen. It didn't take me 2 seconds to take a look at it. It's obviously a very mature ram. I'm like, shoot it. Boom. Dumps it. Perfect shot. The ram came tumbling straight down the chute. We had to jump out of the way. Went screaming by us, and it piled up in the bottom. And that man, he looked at me, and he's just like, how did you know? How did you know that sheep was there? How did you know he was going to walk out right in front of us? You can imagine how bewildered he must have been to have, I tried to put myself on that end of it. And you imagine what it must have been like for him to have gone through that experience. He's got this lunatic, redneck, frickin' Canadian hunting guy who hasn't shaved in a month or even showered. And I'm stalking an open face with nothing on it, acting like there's a ram in front of us and there's nothing. And then I'm telling him to get ready. He's probably like, what the hell is he talking about? This man is crazy. I'm not going to get my ram. Whatever he's thinking, right? And then all of a sudden, this frickin' cranker 10, 11-year-old ram steps out broadside at 100 yards and just materializes out of nowhere. And he got him. And it's real cool. You can see this other picture, because when we got down to him where he dropped, I looked, and here's the skull of another ram that had died, and the skull had washed down the drain. And he died basically, right next to the skull from a previous ram another year. And that was kind of cool. And but I didn't have time. It was starting to get dark. By the time we got to the ram, it's starting to we're losing light. I'm going to be chopping this thing up in the dark. And I didn't have time to go up and down that slide to look for the horns off of that dead ram skull. And then it was a pretty frickin' cool day. And got the ram all packed up and caped out, got all the meat packed up, and we rode back to camp, and it was superhero time. And everybody was happier than a pig in shit. And so, but meanwhile, the other guy and the other Mexican hunter, they were having real bad luck, and the other drains they were going up. So I told them about that other 8-year-old ram was with this guy, and sure enough, they rode up and they shot that smaller 8-year-old ram. So now I got 2 rams down. The other guy's got a goat, and sure enough, my hunter starts going, "Oh, Steve, I really need to get my billy. I need to get my billy goat. Oh, I don't think I'm going to get my billy." I was like, oh my God, no way. This isn't happening. I'm like, you're going to get your billy. And then I got to go through the whole gamut of frickin' motivational speeches again. And sure enough, we went up and I found 2 big billies all by himself up in this basin. I hauled him up there, and actually videotaped the kill. I got the videotape on one of those high 8 tapes though, and I don't know where it is. I got it somewhere, but here's the photograph here. And he ended up getting his billy, and the other hunter had his billy and his 8-year-old ram, and we packed everything up and we rode out super victorious, made it to the highway, and we made the right choice. We didn't sacrifice the hunt. We didn't pack him up and ride him 9 hours to the highway and then drive a few hours into Fort Nelson and take him to the hospital to get a stupid cut washed and stuck together. You know, it would have demolished the hunt, and I don't care what anybody says, it was the right thing to do. You know, sometimes you just got to suck it up. You know, it's just a cut. It's not an artery. it's not, you know, your skull's not fractured. You're not seeing purple frickin' elephants floating around in your head and stars and frickin' Tweety birds. So sometimes you just got to suck it up. Picture what's going to happen if you go to the hospital. We can do that. Clean the frickin' cut, shave the hair, clean the cutouts, tape it together, and game on. We can do that. We don't need to go to the frickin' city and demolish that hunt to get a stupid cut dealt with. We're gonna get it done. You just gotta suck it up sometimes and get these things done and do it. And that's what we did. And it's just one hell of an experience. That was a very memorable hunt, happy ending. We went through all the emotions that you could probably conjure up on a hunt. And we did it, and thank God the hunter was tough enough to suck it up and continue on. Even though he may have been a little emotionally weak at times, he was still strong enough to push forward. And I will guarantee you, every single day he glances at that stone ram mount on his wall, he remembers that entire experience, and he relives it, and he sees it, and he hears it, and he feels it, and he smells it in his mind. And that is something else, and that's what it's about. It's about jumping into life, taking a big slice of life and eating it, and doing it. You know, and you get to remember all that. He gets to remember all that. He gets to live that, experience it, and he remembers it. He didn't just watch it online. There you go, hunt stories.